So what I want to do in this first video is have a little look at an introduction to medicine in the UK, specifically looking at medicine in medieval England. Now, medieval England, or a medieval history in general, is a period of time that, in general, historians say between the years of 1000 AD to around 1500 AD. However, this isn't set in stone. There is not full historical consensus on when medieval England starts, when medieval England ends, but this just is the general rough estimate for the medieval period in Europe and specifically England. So we're going to start by looking at the earliest forms of medicine and specifically the idea of supernatural theories behind disease and medicine. So during the early period of medieval England, there was a lot of religion. There was not much science and enlightenment. That came a lot later. So disease was seen almost as a punishment from God. So that is an important part. So disease itself had no real medical intentions or anything. It was simply a punishment from God, and from God from those who have sinned. Therefore, a way to cure these diseases was simply to pray and repent. That's what was seen. So these were the only medical cures. During this period of time. Now, this is simply a logical reasoning from, if the church believes that disease comes from punishment from God from sinning, then therefore to get rid of such disease one must pray and repent and must give themselves to God. They also had the belief in what I'm going to call supernatural beings. So supernatural beings were divided into a number of different camps, but the main two were demons and witches. Witches specifically were incredibly unpopular during this period of time. To be a witch was to... They believed that witches were the cause of outbreaks of disease, the main cause of outbreaks of diseases, that witches were the thing behind it. So therefore, what they're doing here is they are attaching blame to the disease. So someone gets a disease and they are attaching blame, and they are blaming these witches. Okay, and as a result, witches were executed at a high rate. A high proportion of the population. Disease was also there was also the belief in medieval England that disease almost not just came from evil spirits, but was an evil spirit inside someone. For this reason, as a way of trying to remove these evil spirits, we have exorcisms performed in church. So what we can see here through these just simple beliefs that we've outlined here is that their logical conclusions for how to deal with these diseases are wrong simply because of their belief that the disease came from religion or from God. So, for example, the idea that the incorrect belief that evil spirits were inside someone and that's what caused the disease led to the logical conclusion that one should perform an exorcism. So there's a real intertwining link between the incorrect beliefs of the supernatural causes of disease, and then therefore coming to using incorrect treatments and therefore having no significant effect. And this was caused mainly and was exacerbated mainly through the church due to the power that the church had at this time. So if we just move over here, we're going to look at the influence of the church, specifically the Roman Catholic Church, because this was in Western Europe and ideally England, this was the only church at the time. So the Roman Catholic Church, like I said, was a source of extreme power. The idea of God was taken as just a truth, as a fact. It was a truthism. So the fact that God, was seen as a real person, a real thing that existed. Therefore, the church had extreme power over everything in society. Specifically, they had a lot of power over education. So a lot of studies and learning came and were revolved around religion and the church. And this included medicine. So the idea of the whole disease being a punishment from God, the supernatural theory, this came from the church. It was stemmed from the church, and it was also solidified by the church. The church kept this theory going. They kept this idea afloat. And as a result, scholars of medicine, so people who wanted to study medicine, would have to learn the works of someone called Galen. Now, this is a very interesting idea, since Galen was a Christian, like everybody else was at the time, and believed that he believed that God created human bodies and therefore made them perfect. So God created human bodies, created humans perfect. If we want to refer specifically to biblical texts, we can say that humans were made in God's image. Okay? And since God is perfect, is omnipotent, omniscient, omnibenevolent, therefore the humans were perfect, were created perfect, shall we say. Okay? And it was sin that caused humans' perfection to erode and wear away. And sin caused God to want to punish humans, and therefore that's where diseases come from. The simple logic behind it there. And the work of Galen was very important because it was a set of works that fit in the belief of the church. It was in line with the church's belief. Therefore, it was seen as set in stone, and the church supported it. So, church supported these works. Okay, so the church supported Galen and his works. For this reason, things like dissection were outlawed by the church, because using the church's logic, it was almost seen that there was no need for dissection. All one needs to do is repent and pray and, hope to be forgiven for their sins, and that is what's going to cause someone to be cured of their disease. There's not going to be any need to dissect, because it's simple. It is as simple as that. There was also a strong introduction of astrology. Now, astrology was an entirely different theory. Okay, it was separate from the traditional supernatural theories of God and sin with round disease. Astrology is the belief that the planets and the stars have an effect on the earth and the people. Simple as that, really. So we'll just say that people are affected by, I'm spelling words wrong all day, by the planets and the stars. So by the cosmos. Okay, specifically planets and stars. Oops. And this was a way for a diagnostic of disease to come about. Okay, it came about really through Arabic medicine. Okay, and came over to Europe around the years 1100 AD to 1300 AD. It became popularized in that time. Okay, so medieval doctors, the way astrology worked. So how astrology worked? Medieval doctors would own some kind of calendar, which was called an almanac. Okay, I'm just going to write that down. Almanac. Okay. Let me write that properly. An almanac. And what this would do would include information about where the planets and the stars were at any given time. Okay, and the doctor then used this information to predict a patient's health. So again, very different to that of the supernatural theories of God and sin. We use the constant rotation of planets through the sky and stars through the sky throughout the year to predict one's health. And this is one where star signs come from. Unlike today, star signs were thought to affect different body parts, so different parts of the body, which is very interesting. So you can see the disparity here between the two theories, both supernatural in nature. What we have up here and around here are the Christian, medieval, biblical views of disease, the idea that they come from witches, the idea that they are a punishment from God, the idea that they are evil spirits inside them, and also the cures. The cures are also supernatural and Christian in that way. To get rid of sin, you had to pray and repent. The witches were to be executed. They were to be blamed. Evil spirits had to be removed via exorcisms from the church, which had an intense influence over English society at this time, specifically the work of Galen, which was propped up and supported by the church. And then between the years 1100 AD and 1300 AD, around that time, the Arabic idea of astrology became popular and more throughout Europe, which was still, as we need to let know, is a supernatural idea, supernatural in nature, but was slightly different towards these different theories up here.